In 1970, a brand new car cost about $3,500. Today, the average new car runs close to $50,000. The car didn't get 14 times better. The dollar got 14 times weaker. Nobody sent you a bill for that. No politician stood up and announced a new tax. But every year, quietly, a slice of your money's buying power disappears, and it lands in someone else's pocket. It's called inflation. Most people think of it as prices going up. That's the symptom. Today, we're going to show you what it actually is, who it quietly takes from, who it quietly gives to, and how the wealthy position themselves on the winning side of it. Welcome back to The Quiet Rich. Here's the part school never explained. Inflation isn't really prices going up. It's the value of money going down. Same thing from two directions. But the second way of seeing it changes everything. Picture the entire economy as a pie and all the dollars as slices. If the amount of stuff in the economy stays the same, but someone prints more slices, each slice is now worth less of the pie. More dollars chasing the same goods. Your dollar didn't change in your wallet, but it now buys less because there are more dollars out there competing with it. Where do the new slices come from? Mostly, the government and the banking system create them. To fund spending, to respond to crises, to keep the machine running. We're not here to argue whether that's right or wrong. We're here so you understand the rule. When more money gets created, the money you already hold quietly loses value. And here's the cruel little detail. Inflation isn't an accident or a glitch. Most modern economies target it. They actually aim for prices to rise a couple % every year on purpose. So the slow erosion of your savings isn't a bug in the system. It's the design. Inflation isn't neutral. It quietly moves wealth from one group to another. Let's name them. Inflation punishes savers and cash holders. If your money sits in a checking account earning nothing while prices rise 3%, you got 3% poorer this year without spending a dime. The dollar under the mattress is melting. This is why the old advice to just save your money quietly fails people. Cash is the one asset guaranteed to lose to inflation. Inflation punishes lenders and helps borrowers. This one surprises people. If you lend someone money, or hold a bond, or keep cash, which is essentially lending to a bank, inflation eats your repayment. But if you borrowed money at a fixed rate, inflation is secretly on your side. You borrowed strong dollars and you pay back weaker ones. The debt stays the same number while everything around it inflates. Remember video 1. Debt attached to the right asset. This is part of why the wealthy are comfortable with it. Inflation rewards owners of real assets. Here's the winning side. If you own things, real estate, businesses, commodities, land, stocks in real companies, those tend to rise with inflation, often faster. While the saver's cash melts, the owner's assets climb. Same storm, opposite outcomes. Inflation is a transfer from people who hold dollars to people who hold things. So, picture two neighbors. One keeps his life savings in cash, proud he's debt-free and safe. The other owns a rental, some stock, and a fixed-rate mortgage. 10 years of steady inflation later, the saver quietly got poorer, and the owner quietly got richer. And neither of them felt the transfer happen. Inflation is the perfect quiet thief because of how it works on the human mind. It's slow. 2 or 3% a year is invisible day to day. You don't notice your dollar shrinking any more than you notice your hair growing. But compound it over 20 or 30 years, and half your money's buying power can simply vanish. The slowness is exactly what makes it dangerous. There's never a single alarming moment to react to. It hides inside normal. Prices creeping up just feels like life. A candy bar that was a quarter, then $1, then $2. You adjust, you grumble, you move on. You never send anyone an invoice for the buying power you lost. So it doesn't feel like a tax, even though it functions exactly like one. It even feels like progress. Your house went up in value. Your paycheck got a raise. It feels like winning. But if everything else rose just as much, you didn't actually gain ground. You ran to stay in place. Economists call this the money illusion. We think in dollar amounts, not in what those dollars can actually buy. This is the quiet, rich insight in one line. Stop counting dollars and start counting what your dollars can buy. The wealthy don't measure themselves in cash. They measure in assets, in ownership, in buying power, things inflation can't quietly drain. So, how do you get on the winning side of inflation instead of the losing side? A few principles, and then the cautions, because this isn't free money either. Own assets, not just dollars. The core move. Real estate, productive businesses, quality stocks, sometimes commodities or land. Things that tend to rise with, or ahead of, inflation. Cash is for spending and short-term safety, not for storing wealth long-term. Use fixed-rate debt carefully. A fixed-rate loan against a productive asset means you repay in cheaper future dollars while the asset appreciates. That's inflation working for you, but only on assets that earn their keep and only within the guardrails we covered. Reserves, margin of safety, never the family home. Now the cautions, because the gurus skip these. Inflation hedge is not a magic phrase. Not every asset beats inflation every year. Real estate can fall. Stocks can drop. Gold sits flat for a decade sometimes. Owning assets wins over time and across many of them. Not guaranteed on any single one in any single year. Don't take on debt just to beat inflation. Debt cuts both ways. If the asset doesn't perform, inflation won't save a bad deal. The asset has to be sound first. Some assets are inflation traps dressed as hedges. Overpriced collectibles, hyped commodities, things you're told are stores of value right at the peak. Boring, proven, productive assets beat exciting ones. You can't vote inflation away, and you can't stop the dollar from slowly shrinking. But you can decide which side of the transfer you're standing on. 3 things, and they scale to any income. 1. Don't let large amounts of cash sit idle for years. Keep what you need for emergencies and short-term goals, then put the rest to work in something that holds or grows its value. Idle cash is the one guaranteed loser. 2. Think in buying power, not dollar amounts. When you save or invest, ask, will this hold its value against rising prices? Not just, is the number getting bigger? A bigger number that buys less is not progress. 3. Become an owner, a little at a time. You don't need to buy a building tomorrow. A share of a good company, a first rental down the road, a stake in something productive. Every piece of ownership is a piece of yourself moved off the melting side of the ledger and onto the growing side. Inflation is a quiet tax on people who hold dollars. The quiet rich simply choose to hold things instead. That's the whole defense. And anyone can start practicing it with the next dollar they don't spend. Next time, we're answering the uncomfortable question underneath all of this. If the rules are public and the math isn't hard, why does the middle class stay stuck? It's not what most people think. and it's not their fault. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The rich stay quiet about this stuff. We won't.